Hi, everybody, and welcome to Russell, Kentucky, where it's 105 degrees out and feeling a little bit wilty, but still very excited to be here to celebrate Roy Bentley's collection, The Wreck of Your Life, on the Evening News by Sheila-Na-Gig Editions. Roy will be reading for us today from the collection, and then we have a short reading by invited readers from Sheila-Na-Gig's Spring 2025 issue. So stay tuned for that. I'm happy to announce Roy Bentley. I'm trying to find your bio here for those who maybe don't know you. Roy Bentley has published 11 books of poetry. He's the author of Walking with Eve in the Love City, chosen by Billy Collins as the finalist for the Miller Williams Poetry Prize. Starlight Taxi was winner of the Blue Lynx Poetry Prize. The Trouble with a Short Horse in Montana, chosen by John Gallagher as winner of the White Pine Poetry Prize. He's received fellowships for the National Endowment of the Arts, the Ohio Arts Council 6 times, and the Florida Division of Cultural Affairs. Poems have appeared pretty much everywhere, right? New Letters, Prairie Schooner, December, Rattle, Southern Review, Crazy Horse, and Shenandoah. So wow, what a great bio and what an honor and huge opportunity for Sheila-Na-Gig to be able to present your work, Roy. I'm truly thrilled to be able to offer this book to the world. So welcome and take it away for us.
I'm thrilled with this. I want to start with thank you. I can't say enough. This is it's humbling. It really is, and you've done a great job with this. I'll start with the title poem. I think just to kind of, a lot of people don't know who I am, and nor do I. This will be us getting to know who is this guy. The Wreck of Your Life on the Evening News. If the anchor man got excited about whatever bad thing it was, repeating the list of dead and injured, you knew mostly that what happened was almost entirely on you. You'd need a lawyer who resembled Abraham Lincoln, someone from the eastern Kentucky backwoods whose great-great-great-grandfather was shot at least 20 times his final night on Earth for trying to arrest a moonshiner. Anyway, you fucked up big time, and someone died. Someone else wound up a ghost from the waist down. The death car, oodles of gore on the seats, a Plymouth, there on the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite. You were famous, which is to say, famously screwed. Your nephew saw it, the fatal car crash screen footage on the Evening News, complete with footage of the blood and brain spatter, the rest of the mayhem you had caused. He ushered a son away from the TV, offered a magazine. Mercy was the Playboy open to distract your kid with breasts, summoning like some kind of roadside signage. I had a ball going through this book today, trying to figure out, or yesterday, trying to figure out which poems I really that resonate with me or what I think will resonate with other people. This one was published by a good magazine, so that's always a good thing to fall back on. My sister Stephanie returns as a mad high laugh. My sister Stephanie returns as the mad high laugh from someone who got her to vote for Barack Obama. Now she's back as the squirrel gorging on gift cashews and gossiping to itself on the subject of Ohio winters. And that's her as a schmaltzy Sinatra song, Luck Be a Lady, on XM Channel 71. Luck Be a Lady Tonight. Then she's the finite space between saxophone notes, a part of the soul resolving as the long-held last breath finally expelled. Next, back she comes as the marijuana she left behind, Golden State drought dry but smokable. Now she's the Kodak of a blonde 1-year-old dragging a Fisher-Price phone across a black tile floor, mugging for mother's birthday gift brownie box camera, posing in a pair of hard-soled white shoes. Then, as the reverse sunset on that framed photograph of her on the mantel, where light is particularly fractious, but engoldening. Hey, Gloria, if you're out there, I could use a drink of water. I don't know why my mouth's dry. I have to read this poem. It's not in the book for the times we're in, and then I'll jump back on what I've got there. This particular poem, damn, these pills I'm taking, I think, dry my mouth out. Why Palestinian men fire submachine guns in the direction of the bone-colored face of the man in the moon? They have forgotten physics and the Quran of gravity. Bullets go up like prayers. A sky and faint stars concede only that there are rules to this. It's nightfall. Barrel flashes like the storefronts and stone streets of Bethlehem. Sometimes peace is an absolution of little thunders by a shop that can't keep posters of Clint Eastwood in stock. Sometimes the sun sets like the end of a Western. Even now, a soccer star's fugitive brother sleeps in a different neighbor's house each night to avoid arrest, re-imprisonment. Sometimes he dreams of his 46-year-old mother in a hospital, dying alone. Compassion, the property of those who can call down God as border guards. Tonight, a radio of explosives on a shoulder hails a taxi. Oh, turn it up, someone says. American music. Thank you. I wrote that in 97. I could never imagine that would still be going on. I have to say, I felt some sympathy for Trump's rage. But we'll get to him. Speaking of that, I want to read this poem called Give Me Shelter. It's actually the last poem in the book. And in a lot of ways, I've thought about starting the book with this. I'm confident that when Mick and Keith Richards were squeezing out this great song, they weren't predicting Donald Trump fucking up America. I have a friend who has to be overdosed on THC to sit still for this shambolic coup d'etat, though he says things are the same as after the shootings at Kent State, when the Ohio National Guard opened fire and other young Americans learned what Americans keep learning. We're a vicious lot and not to be trusted. It's in Mary Clayton's vocals releasing moral tension, extending as a kind of petitioning, call it an estimation of how fucked we are. The singers weeping moan, but you don't need shelter until you've lost a home. You don't have to be Keith Richards or Mick Jagger to know about hard roads and about evil. This year in Ohio, first rain, sounds heartbreakingly tender in the way grade school crushes are tender, softly malleable, and as indefinite as honesty in some hands. In the tradition of Billy Collins, lying in grand fashion, offering he had fished the Susquehanna when he hadn't, that he didn't intend to fish it, saying he adored the way the phrase sounded when read back. This isn't the year's first rain. It's rained and snowed and hailed in the month of December. January produced 2 measurable snowfalls. But then Trump got sworn in and layoffs at NOAA began. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration has posted alerts after, but fewer and fewer. We're making do with the lack of truthfulness from our government, as we did after the first reports of NVA dead and the Vietnamese civilian casualties sometime in the Johnson administration. The country was built on slaughter, but don't press your luck. If they opened the Hall of Fame of transparent lies and liars, Donald Trump would be ubiquitous in his attendance at the hall, if not a chief decider of the seating of guests and the mentors in the field of disingenuousness. Still, rain sounds like you expect rain should in winter in Ohio. Like the truth is, we're in for it. There's a part of a person, it seems like it disconnects from suffering. And I've always been interested in how people handle injury and come back from, some awful thing and just be fine. And how other people, they just don't make it. It's interesting, but it's also terribly sad to watch. I got a title off that, and it was not always I think I've talked that poem enough. It's called Autumn Leaves. I miss fall in New England, says the shipwrecked couple in one of the cartoons in the New Yorker I'm reading in reverse. Autumn Leaves is on the commercial free radio jazz station. What do you need to hear about Miles that you haven't heard? That he and Sonny Stitt couldn't stand each other, but played together in London and Paris and Rome. Sonny's saxophone and Miles' iconic trumpet worth a little quarrel. Or that Miles performed the song a lot in 1960 when he first wrote his version. Or that the music teacher I knew once from Iowa who taught for Ohio State said her boyfriend Mark named a son after Miles, as if every other white guy who loves bebop jazz fan hadn't beaten him to the punch. Across the world, there's a war on. In their basement shelters, Ukrainians are huddled, listening to whatever lifts the mood of beaten down and too soon slain. All God's creatures may well be destroyed by the fire and by ice, given that this new warfare is the old warfare amended, war an acquired skill, much like the practice of tolerance and love on the other end of the spectrum. You blow shit up to learn how to blow shit up, leaving unanswered the question of the chances of nuclear war breaking out. I'm reminded that the question is unanswerable in the best of times, and I turn up Miles Davis and Sonny Stitt, picturing the inimitable gold of oak leaves cascading down, and oh God of mercy, God of doom, down. I want to thank the guys that published that. As much as that I wrote it, I felt like I earned that poem by them taking it. It was weird. They validated it somehow. This poem is called Ella Fitzgerald Sings the Dipsy Doodle. Let me get a quick drink here. Anybody want to? Thank you for these responses. I mean, it's just us. YouTube says it was a #1 hit for Tommy Dorsey in 1937. Ella Fitzgerald sings The Dipsy Doodle, and Bill Haley in his comics have a version. Sometimes a singer owns a song. Janis Joplin's Me and Bobby McGee, or Billie Holiday dressing the trees of the American South in Strange Fruit. This is Ella's song. Ella is saying to forget certitude. Not that cluelessness is a virtue. No fucking way. As any Black woman in America, the vocalist knows more than she is at liberty to say. Because saying all or any part of what she knows about this hard country can get her killed. If the powers that be detest what you say, talk in metaphors. Certitude will fall from you like the coat from your shoulders, and you'll sing of a man in love with a woman who is in love with some other man. The definition of the dipsy doodle. Like Ella, your song will be preaching that we are changed once by what we struggle not to let touch us. And once more, that portion of our unhappy history finds us out, regardless. I've got a poem that I sometimes am amazed by, that I read and I go, who in the hell wrote that? It's called On the Diamond Behind Garfield Elementary. Melvin White proves there's but one boot pal. And it's not in this book, but it is in my new and selected if you're hunting for it, and in the first book. When Dave Wheeler fielded the hard one hopper to short, he fired the ball to Melvin White, forgetting the huge first baseman moved like molasses. Melvin caught it on his sternum. You could hear the breath escaping all the way to center field. Falling in love is like that. Begging air as the infield laughs hysterically. You could be dying, blue and big as Melvin White. It could be spring and the woman married. She could be dark and fine as air the hour after rain. Still, they would double over laughing, the pain getting worse. And after she had gone, you would catch her scent. Imagine strong, small hands having apricots as you fall face first, runner advancing. Of course, eventually the pain would ease. You would stand. It would be important that the game go on. You would recall a score, how far behind you were when it hit, only this bright burning in the lungs. I have one more and I will bow out. Let me see. The word hillbilly has been hurled at me plenty, and I can't help it. I wear it. I'm proud of it. I'm going to go ahead and say that if that's what they call my people, go ahead. I'm cool with it. My sister doesn't like it to be spoken in the house. And that's what this poem is about. I can't find the poem. It's just called Hillbilly. And this is why I practiced 92. Cool. Because I'm old. Here it is. Damn it. Gives me a chance to thank you again. This is an amazing book. I mean, the way it reads. And you laid it out, and we had that go round on that one poem. And I'm just here to endorse you, is what I'm saying. Oh my God. Hillbilly. The word hillbilly would as soon fight as fuck. My sister Suzanne is telling me she won't allow the word vocalized in her Ohio home. Her call. It's a quote racial slur unquote against white folk hillbillies. And our parents were as Appalachian as it gets, meaning that she's injured by the word. Suzanne would tell you, I don't say it myself. Her brother, however, is honored to be an Appalachian. My DNA convened by the chemistries of residence. For me, it's not about pissing off psycho America. The designation hillbilly identifies us as the cosmic goofs we are, accidents of neither grace nor design. The world is so much bigger than language, isn't it? My sister was born under a bad sign or something. Nevertheless, the word hillbilly would respond by reminding us that to express anything restricts its meaning, which arises out of the nature of words. Those snarling motherfuckers spoiling for a fight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Roy. Again, it was such a joy to work with you on this book, and your reading was everything I expected it to be. So thank you so much for
Thank you.
celebrating with us tonight. So, again, we have been celebrating the wreck of your life on the evening news by Roy Bentley. So, check us out at Sheila-Na-Gig. Okay. Now we're going to segue into our invited mic readers. We just have four folks with us tonight to share their work from Sheila-Na-Gig's Spring 2025 issue. And we'll be starting with Dani De Luca. So take it away, Dani.
Hello, everybody. Oh my gosh. And Haley, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't even think, oh my gosh. Okay. I picked different poems. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. Okay. The first one I'm going to read is called Carmenta's Cut. I snuggle under a floral blanket with my son, talking about age. He waves his magic wand and transposes my digits. Now I'm 34. He reads from Dog on a Frog, unlabored by the rhyme on rhyme. We play Galaga, and I make it to level 4. You're so good, he says, Mom. Don't die. There were times I thought I would, of course, like when I passed my stop-growing child in the same bed my father later stopped breathing. I remember both pains, the pain of birthing death and the pain of touching it. Such weight and worse don't leave. In the space between letters, thoughts go to seed. My son asks who made God and if scorpions glow at night and why some people wake up sad. Desperation has its own sound, I think, between tongue and teeth, an animal that looks a little like me. I am the daughter of wasted queens and distant kings, my crown unseen even now. I heard of a woman who shot her abuser, but only wounded herself. Truth that some of us leave marks, others hew them from the stone of us after. My son clings to me, writes a note that says, I love you, Mommy. You are beautiful. Oh, my love, I haven't been beautiful in years. Okay, the next one is called The Hatchlings. Look, I can float, he says, tipping his body forward, smiling. In these moments, he isn't alone and doesn't miss the siblings he knows I held but didn't birth living. In the quiet moments, he tells me he's glad he grew where they tried to but couldn't. We all know your insides, Mama, but only I know your outsides. I wonder if I stepped in front of a light, you'd see them through my paper skin, still torn by loss after loss after loss after loss. And I wonder who I'd be as a mother of a 5 instead of a mother of only 1. There's still time, they say. Why not try again, they say. How sad, it's only him, they say. In the pool, he sits on an imaginary nest, beaming. Look, Mama, 4 eggs. After successful hatching, I watch him place imaginary worms in their imaginary mouths, then whisper, I love you, brothers. I love you, sister. I don't have to imagine what kind of brother he'd be. I watch him feed his siblings and know. Okay, this last one is called A Kind of Thanksgiving, and then I will bow out. It is astonishing, the pace at which we're forgotten, how suddenly we live without graves speaking loudest. Such quantum entanglement, death. Its residents miscarried by young bones, their minds a sieve for liquid loss. Each soul rise and set. Watch how a poet ferries your father past death and into your centerland. Watch how she reminds you of his timber and his shunting away. Watch how she watches you watching her, waiting for words, only the splayed of heart here. In death, we turn to poets. They sit beside us and read. Thank you.
All righty, I guess it's my turn. Hello, everybody. I'm David Prather. First thing I want to say is congratulations, Roy. It's a fine book. Thank you for putting it in the world, you and Haley. And thank you for allowing me to share this space with you tonight. I'm going to go ahead and start with a poem that appeared in the latest issue of Sheila-Na-Gig online called The Boy. My inner child is a phoenix, burnished by bicycle and BB gun, singed by slingshot and slinky. He's an old soul, so I've been told, ready to kindle his wings and conflagrate, resurrect from bone cinders and body ashes. He flicks light switches with his fingers, my fingers, on, off, waits for his father, my father, to warn against wasting electricity. Because the child I was remembers the 70s as Energy Crisis Willy Wonka Star Wars. Those days are moldering embers. The past is acrid and pungent. It clings to old sweaters and lingers in my hair. I've been told that men never grow up. I saw my grandfather act downright juvenile, which my grandmother called his second childhood. Dementia is tricky that way. I remember when he was dying, my grandmother said he'd be reborn in heaven. I thought she meant he'd be a blue-eyed boy again, playing jacks and kick the can, and he'd splash through the creek scaring minnows, crawdads, and bugs that walked on water like saviors. Alrighty. This happens to be my book with Sheila-Na-Gig online. And I'm going to read a couple of shorter poems from it tonight. The first one is Tatterdemalion. If there was a way to keep birds out of berry vines, my grandmother knew it. 2 posts pushed into the earth, twine strung between them, old aluminum pie pans strung so they could chatter with every breeze. Today, a robin preened and keened in the dogwood as I started the lawnmower. It roared beneath her, but she didn't flinch or fly. Something tells me nothing will keep her from the tart green apples that already bend their branches. The mulberry tree is stripped clean. I'm not sure the old tricks work anymore. Thrashers and vireos, sparrows and grackles. I could be an apparition here on the ground where windfalls wither. I could be a child whose father tunes the television and the radio to 2 different games, all those voices a static drifting out windows, haunting the afternoon. I could be the child standing outside those windows, listening to the songs of birds and the strains of insects. Someone once told me something shiny, something that scatters sunlight, will keep birds from the harvest, but only a straw man can startle a crow. And the last one, growing up in a, I don't know, pseudo-Christian household, I guess, the story of Adam and Eve was one that perplexed me a great deal because I always felt more akin to Eve than I ever did to Adam. And so this poem is called Eve's Theme. Rumor suggests that the name of things originated with me, even those distinct variations of rain. But this is not exactly the truth. Even the smallest creature, the least observed plant, the most distant star has a voice and speaks its own appellation. I'm sorry if you don't understand. If you are still enough, long enough, you can hear all those who speak. And as for the gossip of temptation, don't be so quick to judge. Even the seeds inside the fruit call out. I listen. They say bite into the flesh. Let them see the light. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Gloria Heffernan, and it is an such an incredible honor to be sharing space with all of you stunning poets. So I'm going to read the 2 poems that I have in this issue, and then 1 poem from my new book, and I'll hold that up. And even though it's not a Sheila-Na-Gig book, but the first poem is called Growing Out. It was not a deliberate act. It did not start out as a metaphor for survival or growth in the midst of worldwide suffering, or a political statement about sheltering in place. It was simply one less thing to worry about. But now, as it brushes my shoulders, restored to what's left of its natural color, my long hair shines shot through with a garland of silver threads that tell time as accurately as any clock or calendar. I have stopped dying. The short, shorn layers of the pixie cut with its red highlights needed more upkeep than a lawn in summer. Now uncut, unaltered, it floats like graceful strands of Spanish moss drifting in the summer breeze, wild and beautiful and alive. Of course, I gave up on that long hair a few months ago because it took just as much maintenance. The second one is called In This Bleak Midwinter, and I think that given this awful heat wave that so many of us are finding ourselves in, it might feel just a little nostalgic. In this bleak midwinter, I want light. Enough light to read a roadmap that will lead me to the place where hope resides. It doesn't have to be a star in the east. It can be a neon light in a coffee shop that says, "Come in, we're open," and really means it. A light that will not surrender despite an off switch that would so readily plunge us into deeper darkness. A light that persists, even in these darkest days, overcoming the shadows as it declares, "I'm still here." So this is my book. It was published by Shanti Arts Publishing. They also produce the literary journal Still Point Arts Quarterly. And the title of the book is Fused, and I'm going to read the title poem. As it kind of sets the tone for pretty much everything that comes after it in the book. Fused. I could not hear the blood entering my vein, 1 drop at a time all night long. 4 pints, 4 donors, 4 faces I would never see, hands I would never touch. I could not hear their voices, the languages they spoke, the prayers they prayed. I did not know what car they drove, or who they voted for, or why. But I knew I would die without them. I knew the rupture in my body would only be healed because 4 strangers said yes. And now I cannot look at the woman in the grocery store, or the man who cut me off in traffic, or the people in line at the voting booth without wondering, did you save my life? So thank you all so much again. And thank you, Haley, for the opportunity to be here. It is truly an honor. Such wonderful voices. Thank you.
I think it's me. Okay. I'm Catherine Gonick, and I did not contribute to the Spring Quarterly, so I'm going to be reading some other things. I was a teenage psychopomp. A neighborhood friend was spending the midsummer night, and we stayed up late talking until she started seeing people I didn't know were there. "They're dead and here for me," she said, but I could only see her fear. At first, only a few, then a crowd gathered, stood at the end of my maple twin beds, filled the space between us and the door. My friend whispered, "Please make them go away," and I began to sense them. felt the air prickle and thicken as they pressed closer. I stood too, offered politely to escort them from my room. Receiving no answer, I held out my arm and, like an usher, walked them one by one to and out the door until the last visitor vanished. But what if they're still there? Asked my friend. So I went to the door once more, opened it, and peered up and down the hall to reassure her. It was empty. No one waited. Later, I heard she spent a few weeks on the psych ward. Back in school that fall, we didn't speak about her time locked up. She only informed me, to my shock, that sometimes being crazy could be fun. I didn't ask how, and neither of us returned to our overnight with the dead. In junior high, I hadn't read the job description and wasn't paid in coin, yet had done the work, like the ferryman in the underworld who rode shades across the river. I was left to guess if that throng of spirits got lost in my hall or found their way to someplace better. And this is a poem about love. Truly, madly, after the first, fine infatuation fades, naked primavera sadly whispers arrivederci, melts into a mist, leaves behind her shell, useless as virginity. When it comes to lasting love, I'm just another barefoot fool on the beach, trying to scry fate from water. Waves break into bubbles that race over sand in a champagne sparkle, wink as they disappear in a gray retreat as the sea withdraws to advance again. Day and night, Luna swims with the tides. Lacy foam trims her shifting hem as I wait for the return of her tsunami. And this one, last one, is a takeoff on the well-known saying to some of Rabbi Nachman that all of life is a narrow bridge and the important thing is not to be afraid. It doesn't come with trigger warnings. Life loves surprises, soarings, the feel of pulling G's in an F-16 with a sudden landing, wheels down. Look around. You're on an unmarked runway in an unknown country, but there's no need to fear. You've just crossed the abyss again, flown over the narrow bridge, and your car is waiting. On the roughest road, a warning sign doesn't mean stop, but proceed with caution. Hopefully, the signs will be kept free of mud, and your fog lights will keep working. Driving through history, memory, dreams, what doesn't call for a warning? Lord knows plenty of people should come with one. The important thing is to stay unafraid. Give thanks, smile if you pass a reptile, and keep moving. Thanks.
Thank you, Catherine, for wrapping us up. Catherine's book is currently printing and will be shipping very soon from Sheila-Na-Gig. And again, thank you all for being here. Our invited mic readers, you can find at Sheila-Na-Gig's spring issue online, and Roy Bentley's The Wreck of Your Life on the Evening News, also available at SheilaNagigBlog.com. You can check out all of our different readings on our YouTube channel, and I encourage you all to come back July 3rd for John Popolewski and July 11th for Rob Philman, whose book I have not published, but he's invited to come and read from his new collection. So thank you all for being here.